Krystal Everdeen, and today I want to share with you how to make this one strap crochet crop top. So for this project I'm using 100% acrylic yarn that I got from Amazon. It is the brand Red Heart, and if you want to use the exact same yarn that I'm using, I will link it in the description box below via my Amazon affiliate links, as well as the hook I'm using today, which is a size 5mm hook, and I'm going to also link it in the description box below for you if you want to use the same hook and yarn that I am using. So the first thing that we're going to do is grab our yarn and create a slip knot. Now if you are a complete beginner to crochet, I do have a crocheting for beginners video that I will also leave in the description box below. In that video I go over how to make a slip knot, how to chain, and do the basic stitches as well. So it's there if you need it. So once you've made your slip knot, you're going to chain a chain that is long enough to wrap around your rib cage from this part of your back all the way around to this part of your back, but not necessarily touching at the ends here, unless of course you want to make this top so that it's solid. But personally I do not like making solid crochet tops because it's hard for me to get in and out of them. But if you want to make a solid one, then make the chain so that it wraps around your entire rib cage and then touches at the back. But if you want to make it a lace up like mine is, I would suggest that you leave about a 5-inch gap for the lace up portion of the top. And of course every body is going to be different, so the number of chains will vary, but if you're curious to know how many chains I make, I will let you know once I complete it. So I chained a total of 80 chains in order for it to wrap around those areas of my body. Again, from one part of my back all the way around my torso to the other side of my back, and then I'm going to leave a gap in between for the lace-up portion. So this is obviously going to be the base of the top, what's going to wrap around your torso. So from here, essentially we're just going to build upon it and make the part that's going to cover your ribs and eventually cover your chest as well, but for now we're just focusing on the base of the top. So we're going to go back on this chain with a half double crochet. Of course you can actually use whatever stitch that you want. If you feel more comfortable using a single crochet because that is the tightest stitch, then feel free. If you want to use a stitch that is much more loose and flexible, then you can do a double crochet, even a triple crochet. Just know that the larger the stitch, the more holes there's going to be in it, so the more sheer it will be. And if you are planning on maybe adding a lining underneath, then that's perfectly fine. But if not, I would suggest that you stick with either a single crochet or a half double crochet because those are the tightest stitches. Now I wanted to do a half double crochet instead of a single crochet just because a single crochet is a little too stiff. So I'm going for the half double crochet, which if you do not know what a half double crochet is, it is yarn over through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over through all 3 loops, yarn over through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over through all 3 loops, yarn over through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over through all 3 loops, and this is what the stitch looks like. Again, there is a little bit of a gap in between, but I feel like this works. And if you wanted to do a single crochet, this is what the single crochet stitch looks like. So let me just do a couple of them really fast to show you the difference between the two. So this is a single crochet. Look how tiny that little hole is. So this is going to be very secure. Obviously it's a little bit see-through, but if you didn't want to wear anything underneath, like you can't really tell unless like someone's like really staring, which they should not be. But again, it is a lot more stiff when you make the rest of the project, where this one is a little bit more flexible, but also again the hole is a little bit bigger than the single crochet ones. So totally up to you. And again, if you wanted to use a larger stitch like a double crochet, this is what that would look like. And again, I would not recommend it if you are not going to be sewing in a lining underneath, because the gap on this one is huge. And then if you get any bigger than this, obviously bigger the holes. So yeah, that's going to be very, very see-through if you use a double crochet. So that's why I would stick with either a single crochet or a half double crochet. And again, I'm going with the half double crochet, but if you want to do single crochet, totally understandable. I still think that it will pretty much look practically the same. just be slightly less flexible than the half double crochet that I'm using. Okay, so go back to half double crochet. Essentially, I'm just going to go down this entire chain with a half double crochet, and then once I reach the end, I will show you what I do at the ends for now, because we are going to be changing it up as we go along to make that shape at the top for the one strap. But for now, it's fairly easy. We're just going to be making rows and rows of whatever stitch we decide to use. For me, it's going to be half double crochet. So yeah, I'm just going to complete my row of half double crochet until I reach the end, and then I will meet you there. Okay, so I've just completed my first row of half double crochet all along the chain that I just created. And now I'm going to go into the very last stitch of the row. Then I'm going to chain one, flip the project over, and then make my new row of half double crochet on top of the previous row by going into the very first stitch of the new row and then continuing on with the rest, making sure that I do not skip any stitches, and this will help make my edges nice and straight. So by this point, we're just going to continue with that pattern. So I'm going to complete this next row of half double crochet until I get to the very end. Then I'm going to chain one, flip the project over, and then make another row, so on and so forth, until this part of the project is built long enough so that when I put the project against myself, I am happy with the coverage. Now this portion is going to be the part that reaches from the bottom of the top to underneath your chest. So from here to right here, and then after that we're going to switch it up and start forming the shape to make the one strap. And I am making a crop top, but you can make your top either shorter or longer than mine if you want to. It just depends on how many rows you want to make for this base portion of your top. So again, if you want yours to be longer than mine, then make more rows of half double crochet. Make your base wider so that when you put the project against yourself, then you're happy with the coverage. But if you want to make yours shorter than mine, then you don't have to make as many rows as me. And if you want to make yours the same length as mine, it's more of a crop top. And again, everybody is different, so the number of rows that you make may be more or less than mine, totally up to you. That's why I recommend that you use your body as a reference as opposed to just telling you exactly how many rows and chains and stitches to make every time, because again, it's going to fit everybody differently. Just continue making rows and rows of the stitch, and I'll show you some of my progress and then switch on over to what the next step is. So this is what the project looks like after a few more rows of my half double crochet. But yeah, the important part to take from this portion of the top is that we want the edges to be straight. So at the end of every row, be sure that you are chaining one and then going into the very first stitch of the new row, and that will help keep these edges straight here. We are going to be changing that for the second part of the project, but for now, that's all you need to know. So yes, just continue building rows and rows of your stitch, and then I will get back to you. Okay, so I have completed the number of rows I need in order to be happy with the coverage. Again, I am making a crop top, so this is fairly short. If you want to make yours longer, then you just need to create more rows. But from here, I am going to go into the very last stitch of this last row here. And I'm going to now move on to step 2. So I'm still going to again go into the very last stitch of the row, chain one, flip the project over, then go into the first stitch of the new row. But now I'm actually going to start skipping that second stitch. And what that's going to do, that's slowly going to make the edges go inward and make more of a halter shape as opposed to keeping the edges straight. So at the beginning of every new row, you're going to skip that second stitch, and again, little by little, it's going to start curving inward, so you're probably not going to see much of a difference at first, but after a few rows, you will start to see it going in, and that is the shape that you want, because you want to start making more of like a halter kind of shape, and then we'll get into, you know, the different sides where one is a strap and the other one isn't. So for now, just keep making rows and rows of your chosen stitch, but just making that small change at the beginning of every row. So again, I'll show you what to do at the end of the row. Okay, so again, we are at the end of the next row. So we're going to chain one, flip the project over, go into the very first stitch of the new row, then skip over that second stitch, and then continue on with the rest of the row. And you can't really see a difference, well, maybe a little bit right here, but as we go on, it's going to continue moving this way and look more like a halter top. But for now, this is what the project looks like. So in a few more rows, I'm going to show you the progress and then move on to part 3 of the pattern. So after rows and rows of you following that pattern, making sure that you skip the second stitch of every row, your project should start looking like this. Like I said, it's going to start curving inward, and this is the exact shape that you want, and it should be doing that on both sides since you are doing the same thing on both sides. So it should look like a halter top. So this is how it should fit you, and when you put it against yourself, it should fit something like this. And from here, we're going to no longer make it even on both sides, because only one of them is going to have the strap and then the other side just going to be actually done. The one side is already done. Now we're just going to work on the strap portion. So again, put the project against yourself as if you're going to wear it, and then kind of map out where you want your strap to be. I want mine to be from here to here, so I'm going to mark out the stitches that I want the strap to be within. And I'm only going to crochet within those 2 stitches, making the strap. Okay, so I marked off where I want my strap to be from the edge to this stitch right here. You can see that I like extended the stitch a little bit so I know where to end it. So again, this part is already done. This is going to stay flat, and now we're just working on the strap portion. So we're only going to crochet from here to here, and it's just going to be an even crochet unless you want it to also slope in. I think I'm just going to make mine even, so similar to what we did here at the bottom, we're just going to go back and forth on this area only and make sure that we keep our edges straight. So chain one, flip the project over, go into every single stitch in the new row, no skipping stitches. We do not want it to slant, just want it to stay straight. And then after a few rows of that, I will show you what it looks like. So again, from here, I'm just going to chain one, flip the project over, and then continue on with a new row of half double crochet, only till the stitch that I indicated. And after a few rows of going back and forth on only that area, you'll see the difference, and it'll start looking like a strap. So I'm almost at the end here, and then I'll show you what I do, which is basically the same thing, but still. So this is the stitch that I indicated. I wanted the strap to end, so I'm going to go into it, chain one, flip the project over, and then start my new row of half double crochet until I reach the end, and then flip the project over, do the same thing, and continue building this strap until it's long enough to actually wrap around my collarbone, my shoulder, my back, and reach to the bottom of the top where I can attach it and it can stay. So again, right here, I'm at the end of the row, and I'm going to go into the very last stitch. I'm going to chain one, flip the project over, and then start my new row of half double crochet. And this is what the project looks like. So it should look something like this when you're just starting out. A little bit of a difference, but then as you keep going, it's going to be just elongated, just like a longer strap, and it needs to be long enough to actually like wrap around you. So yeah, just keep going back and forth on this area only, and I'll check in with you in a bit. So this is what it looks like after a few more rows, and you're just going to continue building this strap until you put the project against yourself and it's able to wrap around your collarbone, your shoulder, and your back, and then actually reach down to here, because we're going to eventually attach it to right here. And after that, we're just going to add the straps and be done. So I finished crocheting the strap, and this is what it looks like. I just kept going until I put the project against myself, and the strap was able to wrap around my shoulder and then reach all the way down to where the base of my top is, because this is where I'm going to attach it. I'm going to attach it like this, and this is the what the back of the top is going to look like. So I'm going to attach the thick strap here, and then I'm going to create thinner straps and then lace it up back here. So first things first, after you're done crocheting your thick strap, then you're going to attach it like so. So just bring it on here. Again, try it on if you need to figure out where you want to attach it to. I know I want to attach it to right here. So I'm going to grab the strap as well as the side of the top, and I'm going to align them to where I want them to be attached to. And then I'm going to slip stitch them together, and all a slip stitch is going into the stitch, in this case 2 stitches, 1 stitch from the strap and then 1 stitch from the side of the top. And then you're going to yarn over, go through both of them, and then through the last loop on your hook. And that's how I attach things together. So again, through the stitches, yarn over, and then back through everything. And that's how you do a slip stitch, and that's how I attached the strap here. So now that the strap is nice and attached, we're going to make the straps to lace it up. Now you could detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to the bottom here, but I'm someone who doesn't like to cut the yarn from the yarn ball during a project. So I'm going to crochet my way down here, then chain 100 chains, go back on that chain with a slip stitch, and then single crochet my way back up, and then do 1 row of half double crochet all around, just so that it kind of evens everything out a little bit, because you see how like the edges here are not as crisp, and I think it will really bring it all together. But this is all optional, you don't have to do it. All you have to do is you can just detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to make the straps, and then lace it up and you'll be done. But I'm going to take the complicated route and crochet my way down here, make the strap, go back on that strap, then crochet my way all along this area down here to the other side and make the other strap, and then be done with it. So yes, that is what I'm going to do, and I'll meet you once I am making the straps so you could see how I make them. Okay, so now I'm at the edge of the top right here, rather the bottom of the edge of the top, and I'm going to chain 100, and after I chain 100 I'm going to go back on it with a slip stitch, and it's going to look something like this. So when you go back on it, it's going to be through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, and then through the loop left on your hook. So it's the same as when we were attaching the 2 pieces together, and that's just going to, 1, make the strap a little bit thicker and more sturdy, and 2, again, you don't have to detach the yarn from the yarn ball. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chain 100, go back on it with a slip stitch, and then single crochet my way all along the top 1 more time, and then make the strap on the other side, and then I will meet you so I can show you how I will lace up the back. Okay, so I went ahead and completed both of the straps. So again, I chained 100 chains, and then I went back on it with a slip stitch, and then I crocheted my way all along the top, and then went to the other side, made the other strap. And once you're done with both of the straps, you are completely done with the crocheting part of the top, and you could just cut the yarn from the yarn ball and then seal the project. But I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this top or if I'm going to unravel it and then use the yarn for my next tutorial. So I'm actually not going to cut it right now, but if you're making this, you're most likely going to keep this, so make sure that you cut the yarn from the yarn ball and then bring the excess yarn through the last loop, give it a tug, and then that should seal the project. And after you're done with that, you're going to lace up your top like this. So you can decide which side is going to be your front and which side is going to be your back. Since the stitching shows on this side, I'm going to make this side my front. So I'm going to face it the opposite direction, and I'm going to grab one strap from one side and then bring it over to the opposite side towards like the middle area, and I'm going to use my hook to bring it through like this, and then once it's all the way through that stitch, I'm going to reach on over to the opposite side again, but this time more towards the top of the bottom of the top. And then I'm going to bring the strap through there as well. And once that's through, kind of looks something like this. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing but with the opposite strap. So I'm going to bring the strap over to the opposite side and then attach it towards the middle portion of the bottom portion of the top. And then I'm going to grab it again, bring it over to the opposite side, make sure I grab the right one, and then attach it to the top portion of the bottom of the top. I know that's kind of confusing, but basically this top portion right here. And then once I attach it through there, it should look something like this, so like a lace. And after you've attached that, then you are completely done with the top, and this is what it looks like. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up before you go. And if you love free crochet tutorials, I have a ton of them on my channel. Go ahead and check out my various crochet playlists. There's a bunch of beginner friendly videos as well as more advanced videos and different projects as well, crochet tops, little plushies, bags, cardigans, you name it. They're all on my playlist and channel. So yeah, I hope you had lots of fun crocheting your new top and have the best time styling it and rocking it. Thank you so much again for watching. Don't forget to click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye, and have a magical day.
These days, under the sun together. These days, let's make them last forever. These days, let's hope they last forever.